Welcome to week 3 of the Hangover Sports Talk Fantasy Podcast Extravaganza. Still working on the name. We'll get there one day. So right now, week 1's in the books of the NFL. A lot of highs, a lot of lows, a lot of suspensions, a lot of controversies around the NFL. But we're going to focus on the bright side. Fantasy football never let you down, except it did for me because I lost week 1 to Mr. Matt. So right now we're just going to...
All the credit can't go to myself. I have a co-manager, Sean Abernathy. Sean, love our team. Loving our team right now.
So we're going to break down our matchup. Matt won 149 to 105. 149 is a lot of points in any format.
And if you're wondering, yes, I had Calvin Johnson, I had Matt Stafford, and I had Julius Thomas. Sprinkling Vernon Davis, Emmanuel Sanders, and Darren Sproles. That's a recipe for a 150-point game.
Yep. So that's what happened. And I made the mistake of putting Ben Tate as my team name. It was Ben Tate in the Bungalow 8, and he got hurt after 6 carries. So don't put Ben Tate in your team name. He will get hurt.
Ben Tate will be back. I'm not worried, and you shouldn't be worried either. I have him in another league. Ben Tate is a guy who's always like injury prone, but it's never for long periods of time. And when he does play, he's going to get you points. It's just too bad that he got hurt pretty early on in the game, and he couldn't really get points because 7 yards a carry is pretty incredible for his career stat line. So, but anyway, yeah, you shouldn't really worry too much about that. One disappointing part about my team, I'll have to say, is probably the one down spot was, Danny Woodhead didn't really pan out the way I wanted him to the first week, but you never know. And the Patriots defense, 0.5 points against the Dolphins. Who would have thought that they would have lost to the Dolphins first week?
If they were going to lose, I didn't expect them to lose like that.
Nope.
Just overmatched, really.
Yeah, absolutely. They look terrible. They look absolutely terrible.
And it's not going to get much easier for them. If you have the Patriots D in any league, they're going on the road against Minnesota, who looks real good. Cordarrelle Patterson, unstoppable, 70-yard touchdown run. So if you have the Pats D, I'm not saying drop him. I'm not saying don't play him, but it's not going to get any easier. Nope. They usually dominate the Dolphins. And they really didn't. In the first half, it was the Pats looked good, but in the second half, the Dolphins D put pressure on Brady, and then the Patriots defense basically did the opposite to Tannehill.
Yep.
And Moreno ran wild. So Pats D might be a tough play next week against Minnesota.
Yeah. Their Patriots D was disappointing for me this week. Revis didn't really shut down Mike Wallace like I thought he would.
Yeah.
So, and other fantasy disappointments this week, and these are guys that they're not going to have another week like this. Dez Bryant had an off week, only 7.5 points, and one of the biggest upsets, who you actually have on your team, I think, Demaryius Thomas.
They're both.
He had Dez Bryant and Demaryius, but Demaryius Thomas, 6.8 points. He was targeted a lot in the game. He just was blanketed. He just was absolutely covered. There's nothing you can do about that. You always start your starters, though. You start him next week. You always start him. You keep him in the game. It just happened that Julius Thomas got all the looks that game, and Emmanuel Sanders, the ones that are catchable. But keep him in next week. A couple other disappointing guys. Like I said, Danny Woodhead, I thought he was going to do good in a deep half-point PPR league. Didn't really do anything. Ryan Matthews turning out to be Mr. Reliable after starting off his career as just a injury-prone, just like sporadic running back. So he's looking good. Yeah, he's looking good this year. So keep a lookout for him. If you haven't seen the news, and if your league hasn't already done it, pick up Josh Gordon.
Yeah.
Josh Gordon's suspension might be lifted sooner than later, maybe this season. So if he is on your waivers, make sure you pick up Josh Gordon. That'll be a very good pickup for late in the season, because if he has a year like he had last year, then
you're gonna want him on your
that's
team.
a number one. That's a first-round draft pick right there. You're gonna have him on your team. So that's another good one.
And right now, what we want to go over is waiver pickups.
Yeah.
So
where do you go from here?
Yeah.
After the first week, you want to fix your team. You want to fix the spots that are weak, and you want to make the spots that you have even better. So you go to the waiver wires, and we're going to go over some picks that we think would be good off the waiver wires. I'm going to go ahead and we'll each go over a running back and a wide receiver we think you would be good picking up off the waivers, maybe even a tight end. I'm going to say for my running back, I'm going to say you pick up Chris Ivory. Chris Ivory is the thunder to Chris Johnson's lightning, and that's a direct quote from ESPN. And he did. He's a bruiser. He did have a 70-yard touchdown run, which was the majority of his yards. But still, I think that he will be good playing forward, and Chris Johnson is never usually that reliable. As far as wide receivers, you might be able to look for Allen Hurns in Jacksonville. Again, he had all his catches in the first half, and in the second half, he didn't have anything. He did have 2 touchdowns and over 100 yards, though. So, yeah. So those are my 2 top guys I think you can look for on waivers. But what do you think?
My running back, who I'm really looking forward to this week, and I hope I get him. I'll put the claim in, but you never know, is Justin Forsett. 11 rushes, 70 yards, and a touchdown. Got you 17 points. And they are playing at home against Pittsburgh on Thursday. Usually a grinded-out type of game. I don't see much going through the air for Roethlisberger or Flacco on Thursday. And Forsett is slated, as of now, to get the start over Bernard Pierce, who was benched because of fumbling issues on Sunday. So Forsett is my running back, and I hope I can get him. As for wide receiver, Allen Hurns, as you said, he did have the 2 touchdowns. What I'm really looking at is Donnie Avery, and I really like him for Kansas City. He had 7 catches on 13 targets for 84 yards. Some leagues you might not be able to get him, but in the majority of leagues, I'm in a 12-team league and he's available.
He's only owned in 1.6% of leagues on ESPN.com. So you're most likely going to have him on your waiver wire.
And Dwayne Bowe's suspended, so that's just he's eliminated out of the equation. And Alex Smith, he develops a relationship with receivers. I'm a 49er fan. That's what he did in San Fran. He's not really a guy who's going to take a lot of risks if he feels comfortable with the receiver. And 13 looks, which Avery got this week, is pretty much confirming that he's comfortable with Donnie Avery. Yeah. I'd go after him. He is playing at he's playing at Denver. So you figure if Kansas City has any chance of staying with Denver, it's going to be through the air. The only bad thing, maybe Jamal Charles only got 7 rushes week 1. That's probably not going to keep up. I have to imagine they got to give him the ball at least 20 carries against Denver. But I still think Avery will lead the team in looks and hopefully in receptions. And if they're going to be throwing the ball all game, you never know. You can sneak a touchdown or 2 in there.
Yeah.
So I go Justin Forsett and Donnie Avery for my running back wide receiver pickups for week 2.
Good pickups.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Another guy I'd like to throw in there as a quarterback, I think Big Ben Roethlisberger is going to have a good year this year. I know you said that there's not going to be much going through the air, and I would agree with that. But if you want a good backup quarterback, it looks as though that Big Ben and Antonio Brown are picking up right where they left off last season. So that's a lot of yards for both those guys. So if you can pick up Ben Roethlisberger, that's going to be a lot of touchdowns, a lot of yards for this year. And also, I thought it was kind of cool. He's apparently decided he wanted to get in better shape, and he's basically down to the same weight he was when he entered the NFL. They were saying still not the weight that Cowher wanted him to be at when he was first on the team. But still, I mean, he's down a little bit, and when he was first coming in the league, he was shifty as hell in the pocket and extending plays. So, hey, you never know. You need a backup quarterback, pick him up. Another guy, Carson Palmer. The ageless wonder, apparently, and he's rejuvenated his career in Arizona, so look for him.
I'm going to give you a little insider information here on a tight end you might want to pick up, especially after last night's game. Larry Donnell, Giants tight end, led the team in targets, receptions, yards, scored a touchdown. You still got Ruben Randall, you still got Victor Cruz, you still got Beckham when he comes back, but Larry Donnell is the tight end in New York. And if Eli Manning decides, hey, I'm going to be a professional quarterback again, I think he'd be the guy to pick up if you're really hurting for a tight end. I mean, I'm sure anyone you drafted might be better than Donnell, but he puts in a good week too. That could be another sneaky guy you pick up. You play the matchups.
Yeah, absolutely.
So look for Larry Donnell as well because he is owned in exactly 0.3% of leagues.
Oh.
So
not a lot.
No, I think you'll be able to pick him up.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I think that's it for this week. I mean, if you're 0-1, keep your head up, and if you're 1-0, keep your foot on the gas pedal. Keep going.
Keep trudging.
Keep going forward, and never, never, never stay happy with your team. Always look to improve your team.
Never be content.
Never be content.
It's a life rule.
And don't tinker either. Don't tinker. No. Set your lineup and let it sit there for a minute, and then leave it.
And if you have any questions, we have our Twitter at Average Nobodies. We have our Facebook. If you want to comment on the post when we put it up, it's facebook.com/theaverage-nobodies. We had a fan ask us a question last week. We gave him
two different
answers.
Which I think my answer worked out for him.
Avery had a good game too.
Yeah. All right. Well.
So, but hey, you never know. We might give you two different answers. We might give you one answer.
Hey, we gave him two different answers and they both worked out.
So, that's our credit and not his. Just kidding. But until next week, I'm Ryan.
And I'm Matt.